the purpose of a deload is to anticipate before the body breaks to give it a structure, to give it a structured time frame of actually reducing the amount of load. Mine is usually is anywhere between 7 to 8 weeks. And some people can go for longer, but it really depends on the individual and their age. If I go for any longer than that, what usually would happen is that I'll be too tight, or if I'm not necessarily listening to the body. So like before a training session, I usually use a foam roller. I usually do dynamic movements, so like leg swings, calf pumps. I'll do some single leg split squats. I'll do some bodyweight squats. I'll do some hip thrusts. It takes me 10 minutes to warm up in a lower body session.
Damn.
Like I don't jump on an elliptical. If I was in a commercial gym, then I might. But even if I was at a commercial gym, I'd probably jump on the elliptical for 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'd still do the same ones because I've done so much physio over the years, and I know what my imbalances are in my body. And you don't really start figuring out what your imbalances are in your body until you've been in your body long enough, until you sustained enough injuries. You're like, probably shouldn't do that. So that's why the Bulgarian split squats are in there. That's why the single leg glute raises are in there. That's why it's all in there. 10 minutes. Did I do them 2 decades ago or a decade ago? Nah.
No.
I used to train that hard that I probably would redline it, and I would spend. So just say if my lower back was jacked up, I'd be rolling around on the foam roller, and then when I got sick of doing that for a couple of weeks or maybe a month, I'll go to a massage therapist and go get some dry needling done. The only problem is every time I go to the dry needling guy, it's like, so we live in a society these days that if you have a headache, you go and take a tablet. If you go and there's something wrong with your body, you go and take a pill. So we're looking for that silver bullet or that blue pill or the red pill to give us that fix. We don't actually look at the root cause of what's actually wrong with the body. So
within our society, we're a we're a momentous, if you know what I mean. Like it happens like that, so that's what we expect. So please continue.
Absolutely. So the issue with because the thing is, I didn't really, and I suppose as you get older, it doesn't catch up on you, but you realize that if you keep redlining it for a certain period of time, then something will eventually tighten up. It won't just break; it'll tighten up. And just say if one side of your body, both sides of the body aren't exactly equal. So one leg might be slightly longer than the other one. One arm might be slightly longer. One side might be stronger. Well, most people it is because you're left and right-handed, left and right foot. So when you do that and you're lifting heavy, then you only have to be like at the bottom of a squat, for argument's sake. And if you're already squatting a little bit off, then you go and pair that up with doing some heavy deadlifts. Well, that's not going to help an imbalance. It's just going to make it worse. So by doing all of that, then you end up kind of over a period of time, you get a sore back over here in the first week. You keep lifting, you don't give it any rest, you haven't looked at the imbalance. And that's how a well-structured gym program should be made, is that they allow to help build on those imbalances, but they should also look at giving the person sufficient amount of recovery time. So a structured deload for that. If a person gives you a program and says, hey, come back and see me in 3 months, well, if you're serious with your training and you're lifting some serious weight, you're probably going to get pretty knackered. There's something going to happen within that. I'll be very surprised if it doesn't. In those 3 months, and maybe you can get away with it when you're under 25. Maybe you can. I know I can't.
I
So
haven't tried myself, but
yeah,
quite yet.
yeah. So yeah, with the deloads, it can work. And I think we've had a chat to this in terms of how quickly that progression, what that looks like. So for argument's sake, I went wakeboarding a couple of weeks last Sunday, and well, maybe it was last Sunday, and it pretty much fried me for. I was pretty cooked when I did my leg session on the Monday, and I was like, I picked up the bar, and I didn't know what to expect. I'm like, well, maybe I could do 80, maybe not really sure. So I warmed up on the bar, put 60 on the bar, and I did 8 reps, and I'm like, you know what? 3 sets of 8 feels pretty good right now. And I just walked away from it. And I was like, that's okay. Because the one thing that I've had time to do in my break that I've got is that I'm like, well, it's okay. I came back this week and I was like, I already knew that if I wasn't carrying fatigue from the weekend, which I don't normally because I don't normally go wakeboarding, that I could
Yeah.
chuck a bit more on the bar. So I was like, I chucked 80 kilos on the bar. I was like, that's okay. So then I was like, well, if you think of when you're lifting, some people look at how hard you do each set. So a concept that's come up over the years is reps in reserve. So reps in reserve is RII, RIIR. So reps in
Yep.
reserve is how you feeling or whatever the lift is. If we're doing some squats and we do a 100 kilo squat, and I say to you, I want you to leave reps in reserve, maybe 3 reps. So you might stop instead of, you know that you can do 10, but you stop at about 7 or 8.
Yep. Okay.
And then you're actually leaving some stuff in the tank. And then another one is RPE. So the RPE target is kind of similar in a certain way, is that you actually are able to, it's a guide to where yourself to give a difficulty level on the exercise. So if you have an RPE 10, basically you're this close to getting pinned on it, but you got it up.
Yeah. Okay.
Get any
Okay.
more. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Reps in your RPE target usually for hypertrophy is probably between an 8 and a 10. So you won't completely redline it on your first line, but you want to do enough that you're getting some serious stimulation. Most people that are lifting in the gym generally, well, when I say most, majority of most bodybuilders know where that point is before this concept even come out. It's just a way, like when I help clients in person in terms of trying to judge writing their program, see what weight they're doing. I asked them out of 10, okay, out of 10, how hard is this exercise? Because I pick a weight because I want to
Yeah.
see what they can lift. And I say, well, is this weight and I can tell based on their physical expression on their face and depending on how much they're struggling. And if their form is completely it's not the way it should be, then I'll change the exercise, make it lighter until I start seeing the visual cues that you do when you're in a gym training someone.
Yeah. Okay.
So there are all those things as well. So the progressive overload when you come back, a deload week occurs when you go on a 1 week holiday with the family and you actually aren't training. Believe it or
Yeah.
not, that's a deload week.
Oh.
When I'm sick for a week, that's probably when I have a deload week. I'm like, well, guess this is a deload week because you know what?
Yeah.
You're stuck on the couch watching Netflix and you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
So what that looks like when you're coming back to training is that you can't usually lift what you did when you left. What that might look like from a percentage basis, you might go 50%, 70%, 90%, then back to 100 over 4 weeks. So you gradually build it up. And that's mainly, you might get to your accessory movements, so your arm curls and your triceps and shoulders, you might get to that quicker than 4 weeks. But your compound lifts, so your big ones, your benching, your squatting, your deadlifting, and that sort of stuff, you might need 4 weeks to get back into full swing until you actually start increasing weight. So what that might look like is in 8 weeks, you spend 4 weeks building just getting it to where it was, and then you might incrementally increase the back end 4 weeks.
Okay.
It might be 2.5, might be 5 kilos, might just be 2.5. But if you get 2.5 kilos per block, just say we're doing squats, we're doing, maybe doing 100 kilo squats, over 2 blocks. Well, then if you get 2.5 kilos, that's 5 kilos. So you go from doing 102s to 105s in a period of 14 to 16 weeks, which is nothing. That's how quick. That's how big the increments might be. They're not going to be. Oh wow! I just got 20 kilos on my squat. That's great. Did you get 20 kilos in your squat, or did you not go low enough?
Yeah.
And
Or your form's just off.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, one of the things that I'm focusing on more so now is because I am so much in my own environment, is that I'm not worried. I'm not looking around going, oh, who's watching me squatting 3 plates aside,
Yeah.
or who's watching me doing an RDL, and that there's a lot of insecurity that I would have personally had with that, but not to say that that's always the case. It's just that there's always something in the back of my mind that used to be like that, but now that I've been training away from that for so long, then I'm like, okay, well, if I'm not getting full depth and I can't quite feel my hamstrings touch my calves, I guess I'm staying on 120 kilos, or I guess I'm staying at 110s. Like, I'm like, that's just what it is.
See what happens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, yeah, there's advantages of training in a commercial facility, and there's
And there's disadvantages too. So
exactly right. Yeah.
pros and cons. That's it.